Okay, good morning everybody. פרשת השבוע, פרשת חיי שרה. And one of the amazing thing is that is, I think, the only place in the Torah that the way a woman lived her life or counting the years she lived is being done this way. But of course, every place and everything that is written in the Torah has got a special meaning. And as we always say, the Torah is not a story or history or whatever, it's a way of life. And we have to learn from what's happening in the Parsha, what should we do in our life. So why is the Torah telling us, ויהיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים שני חיי שרה. And the life of Sarah have been 100 years, 20 years, 7 years. Those are the years of Sarah Imenu. They could say very simply, Sarah lived 127 years, and everybody understands what we're talking about. So why is this strange description? Again, 100 years, and again, 20 years, 7 years, and then on top of it, Shnei Chayei Sarah, the years of the life of Sarah. But in Hebrew, Shnei, Shanim, is like two, Shnaim, or to learn something again and again, Lishnot, or transfer the message to your children, Veshinantam levanecha. And Shnaim, two, is also from Shanim, and this is the basic meaning of what we're talking about. Some people, we have to see there are two forms of life in the creation. There is the form of life of animals, and is the form of life of angels, which is the two basic things that were created, and then came the man, the human being, which is a combination of the angels from up there, like the spiritual part, and from the physical part, which are the animals. And of course, we have to understand that this idea, human beings are better than angels, because angels are 100% spiritual, and they also do exactly what they're supposed to do. They haven't got the choice to choose to do this or to do that. From the other side, the animal, they does only what it desires, or in other, it goes after her basic needs from the physical point of view. No thinking, no spiritual life at all. Human being has the combination of both, and that's exactly the idea. When we talk about Sarah Imenu, here in this physical world, like I read about it this morning, I gave a small shiur about it also, that when a baby comes to the world, it's like an animal. He eats and sleeps, and that's what he knows. It's not developed like from the spiritual point of view. Then he grows up and he understands that there is more than eating and drinking and sleeping. So now is the test. What is he going to do with this knowledge? Is he going to stay like an animal and run after the desires, the lust, and the physical needs? Or is he going to run after the spiritual things? And the understanding is that why are we here in this world? In order to make this combination of the spiritual side with the physical side. Now, Sarah Imenu succeeded. Also, by the way, Avraham Avinu, the same description, succeeded to live here in this world, the upper world. In other words, their physical being was at such a high level that they lived here already the spiritual part of their body in the highest level can be, which means that they enjoyed both worlds in this world already. Enjoyed the physical world, which we are now here in it, and also the spiritual world, which is Olam Haba, which is the next world, which is heaven or whatever we call it. And this is the task of our life, to follow our ancestors and get as close as we can to the level of the combination of the spiritual world and the physical world. And when we look at what's written in our Parsha, if you see there are a lot of people that are running, they're doing things quickly. And the big question is doing things quickly good or bad? Or how do you say, when you do things hastily, not always it's good. For example, if you woke up late in the morning and you have a flight, or you have to get somewhere, and especially if it's a flight and you know, why? I didn't wake up in time, so you run to the airport and you get there and you get to the gate at the last minute. And then what do you find out? You forgot your passport at home. The same way, somebody runs, is late for shul, is late for davening, is late for a meeting. And then he realizes that when he got there, he forgot the papers he needs, or the talis, or the tefillin that he needs. In other words, doing things hastily, it's like there's an Arab say, hastily is from the devil. Chipazon me'asatan. From the other side, if you do things agility, how do you say agility? Like quickly, but with thinking, this is the best thing you can do. In other words, doing things quickly can be bad and can be good. Definitely, if you do things without thinking, especially if you do them quickly, which is hastily, you can end in a very bad place. But from the other side, doing things quickly but with a thought behind it, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, thinking, what am I doing? What is the purpose? And then doing it, that's the best thing that can be. For example, I started a few years ago to import banquet chairs for halls and things. And they don't come like normal in boxes in the container. They come stuck each one on another, right? They're stackable chairs, and that's the way they are being put in the container. Long rows of chairs, like in a container like this, it's around 2,000 chairs. Now, the first time we got the container like this, we called the company that gives us manpower, and they sent workers, and when they saw what's happening there, they did things without thinking. It took them a long time, I think more than 4 hours. And then when they went away, we realized that they did us a lot of damages. They dragged the chairs on the floor, so they bent some of the chairs, and then they didn't organize it with the right colors and the right frames. It was a whole big mess. So the next time, we asked the manpower company to send us people with mind and with, let's say, enthusiastic, like they want to do the job, not somebody who does the job because he has to do it and he doesn't want to do it. We want somebody who has got his heart into it and he's got the mind to do it in the right way, because otherwise there are going to be damages like last time. Baruch Hashem, they send us, I think 3 or 4 men, and they looked at the container. So first of all, before they started, they thought how they're going to organize. They saw the problem. And then they did it so nicely and quickly, and it took them half of the time, 2 hours, and everything was organized, no damages, no nothing. And that's a big lesson. When you do things with cheshek, when you have the urge to do it, when you have the heart in what you do, when you're doing it in, let's say, in quickly, but with thinking, things are going very nice. But if you're doing things without thinking, you are damaging. You are going to damage things. And this is in life in a lot of fields. So being quick is good if you do it with thinking and in the right way. And that's what we see in our parsha. That's one of the big lessons of our parsha. We see, for example, we see the slave of Avram, Eliezer. He runs to do the job. And you can look into the parsha and you see how many times it's written running. We see Rebecca, the small girl, running to help and to give water to Eliezer and to 10 camels.
Awesome. You can normal.
Sorry?
Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, we learn that doing things, and by the way, Avram Avinu, all the time, Vayashkem Avram Baboker, the first thing in the morning, he goes and he does whatever God asked him to do right on the moment, right on the spot. And that's very important because, one of the interesting things in our Parsha is Eliezer, the slave of Avram. I think we talked about it in the past. If you look through the Parsha, you won't find the name of Eliezer. So how do we know it's Eliezer? Because the description doesn't leave anything for the chance, because it's written very clearly when we get to it. Vayomer Avraham el Avdo, and Abraham told to his slave, Skan Betor, the oldest of his household, Hamoshel, who is governed on all what is got. Who can this be? Definitely, the only guy who can be, it's Eliezer. But then we look and try and find his name. Nothing. It's always Eved Avram. But something unbelievable happens. The minute he's finishing the test with Rebecca, he's suddenly being called Ish, a man. Unbelievable. If you look at it, it's always Vaikacha Eved, and the Eved, and again the Eved, and then he meets Rebecca on the whale, and Vayarotza Eved, and he runs to her. Why is he running? Why is this running happening? And then when he sees what she's doing, he's asking who she is, and he said, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, I found the right girl." And then suddenly, Rivka says to her brother, when he sees what she's coming back with all the jewelry, well, what's this? He says, Kodi ber elai ish. This man talked me like this. Vayavo elai ish, and he comes to the man, to the ish. V'hine omed al hagmalim. Vayom kam ish, vayavo ish. Again, the ish. Do you notice this? Suddenly, the slave is not a slave anymore. He is a ish. And then it goes on and on. And we're going on. We're finishing the story, which is being, by the way, told twice in the Torah. And they say, our sages, Yafa sichatan shel avdei avot, the conversation of the slaves of our ancestors is nicer than the Torah of the sons. And we see it from the way that how the Torah describes the meeting of Eliezer with Rivka twice. Once when it's happening, and the second time when Eliezer is telling the whole story again at the house of Betuel. And of course, there are a few changes, but we cannot go to all the details. But and we learn from this a lot. And one of the main, let's say, things that we learn is connected to what we're talking now. So now what's happening is telling the story again, what's happening with Rivka. And then at the end of this, Vayotze ha'eved klei chesef. Suddenly, the guy, which was called a ish 2 seconds before, is now again called a slave. And then Ogon is again the slave. So what is the Torah trying to tell us? First of all, not telling us the name of the man. Then the description of slave, and then changes in the middle to a man, and then changes again to a slave. In order to understand what's happening here, we have to understand who is Eliezer. Eliezer is not just a slave. He is the guy who knows all the Torah of his Rebbe, which is Avram, and he's teaching others. And this is why he was sure that his daughter is going to be the best shiur for Yitzchak, the son of Avram. And then suddenly he is being told, sorry, cannot happen. You have to bring a wife for my family in Haran. And this is unbelievable. This guy goes, and knowing that he's got a problem, because really inside he doesn't want to find another shidduch for the son of Aaron for Yitzchak. He really wants his daughter to be the one. And maybe she's even less spiritually suitable. But Avram Avinu told him what to do. He is his master. He is the slave. He is doing it. Not only doing it, he's doing it in such a rush in order to not get a moment of thinking that when then what could happen. Another big lesson for us. If we start something good, we have to understand and realize that the Yetzer Hara is there to disturb. And if we let him go in between what we do, sometimes we will stop in the middle. Oh, you don't need to do this, but you do this and what you do this. In the case of Eliezer, if he would have done, and you see, like he's doing it quickly, he's coming, he's running to the well. Then he is quickly going to there, and they want to put food in front of him to eat. Is after a long way. And he's not, no, I'm not eating before I'm telling you why I'm here. And then he tells them why here and explains to them, you have to give me her. If you don't give me, I'm going away. Then they give it to her. And then the next morning he's going. What's happening? Let the girl stay a few days at home to digest the fact that she's leaving home and going to a new place to get married. No, it is not. So is it necessary really? Why? What would happen if it would if it done it a little slower? Then Avraham Avinu is telling him very clearly. He's telling him. He's asking the slave tells her maybe the woman wouldn't agree to come with me. He says, Hashem Elokei Hashamayim asher lekachani mibet avi eretz molodati asher God, the God of earth, he took me and he's going to send an angel before you to help you to take a woman. This is unbelievably blessing. And surely if Avraham Avinu is saying this, he's going to be successful. But look what's happening. When the Eliezer, the slave of Avraham, gets to the place, he is asking God for help. Do chesed with me. What's happening? What? The blessing of Avraham Avinu is not enough for you? But he knows the blessing of Avraham Avinu is very good, unbelievable. But he's got an interest. And because of the interest, he's afraid that he is not suitable to do the mission in the right way. So he's asking the help of God. And I just now realized that talking about it, why isn't Eliezer going to the house of Bethuel? Because he told him where to go. And he didn't have to go to the well. Why is he waiting near the well? And why is he doing this guessing game? And you all know you're not allowed to guess. You're not allowed to do all those things. Like, if this is going to happen, I'm going to do this. You're not allowed to doing it. That's what he's doing. If the girl is going to come, I'm going to ask her for water, and she's going to give me and then offer to give to the camels, then this is the girl. How do you do this? But the answer of the two questions is very simple. Eliezer realizes if he is not the one, and his daughter is not the girl that can be the wife of Yitzchak, he understands he has to find something unbelievable. Something with chesed that is not normal chesed. So he's not doing guessing here. He's doing a test because he realizes that he cannot just go to the house of Bethuel and ask for the daughter to marry Yitzchak because maybe he's going to give him another girl and going to play around. And we know that this Lavan, years later, he's changing the wife of Yaakov. So he knows where he's going. So he doesn't want any. Then another thing, maybe he's got a few daughters, and maybe the one daughter that he's going to give him is not the one that is suitable for the house of Avram. So he does a test. He says it's not a guessing game, it's a test. He says, if the girl, I'm going to go to the well, and I'm going to wait for the girls to come out to bring water. And when I'm going to see this girl that I think is suitable, I'm going to ask her to give me water to drink. And if she's going to offer not only water to me, also to the 10 camels, then this is the girl. So it's a test. Now, the other question is, why is he running when he sees Rivka? Who told him that Rivka is the one? So the Midrash says that the water, when Rivka came, the water came up to her. She didn't need to bend down on to take the water out. The water came to her. And he realized that this is a special girl. But that's not enough. He goes to her and he's asking her for water. He runs to her, not goes, runs. I'm thirsty. Can you give me water? And what's happening is amazing. He's giving him water. And the Midrash said that, what's written is that doesn't let him even to hold it and drink. She is giving it to him, so he doesn't have to do any effort, nothing to do. And then She says, okay, I'm going to water also you camels. So is it successful or not, his mission? Definitely yes. But look what's happening now. Va'ish mishta'ela, and the man is looking, wondering, and is silent to know, "Ha'atzliach Hashem darko lo? Did God help me? Is it the right girl?" 1 minute. That's exactly what you said. And this is what's exactly what she's saying. So are you successful? Of course you're successful. He says, no. Maybe this girl is from those that says a lot and does nothing. For it reminds me years ago, we had a meeting of the graduates of the yeshiva, and the Rebbe asked for donation, and one of the guys that I know well got up and he promised a big amount of money. And I know, and let's say almost everybody knew, the guy hasn't got the money, but he promised. And of course, afterwards, he gave nothing. So that's exactly the point. It's not saying I'm going to do this and that, all those people that promise, the politician especially, they promise so many promises, and then when it gets to the point, nothing's being done. So he says, 1 minute, this girl is telling me she's going to give water to 10 camels. You know how long it takes to give water to 10 camels? You know how long one camel drinks and how much it drinks? It's unbelievable. So he says, 1 minute. This is not end. This is not the end of the test. I have to see if it's really happening. And then it really happens. And then he realizes that's the chesed for Bet Avraham. That's the white wife. That's the girl for Yitzchak. And he doesn't even ask her who she is because he knows who she is. Because definitely this is coming from the house of Avraham. It cannot exist in other families. So he gives her the jewelry on the spot. And only then he asks her who he is, knowing what the answer is. And she says, yes, I'm the daughter of Betuel and Unbelievable. To understand what's going on in our Parsha. It's all about chesed. We see when Avraham Avinu at the beginning of the Parsha is burying his wife, and he for this is got a whole thing going on with Ephron. And the interesting thing is that the Midrash says, Rodef tzedakah v'chesed. Where do I learn of somebody who is running after doing justice and chesed? You know where? From Avraham Avinu when he buried his wife. A little strange. Avraham Avinu, this guy who did so many things of chesed, especially was well known with the achnasat orchim, with the guest. And this is not mentioned. What they mentioned, he buried his wife. Sorry to ask you a very simple question. Do you know somebody who's not going to bury his wife? And what would the people think about a guy like this? Terrible. So what's so special about burying your wife? And why is this considered as chesed shel emet? And by the way, that's what we call till now, when you bury the dead, is called chesed shel emet. Now, the basic understanding is, why is it chesed shel emet? Why is this the real chesed? Because if you do chesed with somebody alive, he can give you back something. But when you do chesed with somebody that died, he cannot pay you back anything. So that's a chesed shel emet. That's a true 100% chesed. But that's not exactly the point. It's much more into it. Because when people do good things, normally their conscience feel good. You feel hard. Oh, I am a good man, a good person. The feeling is nice. So it is an advantage. So you get something out of it. But what happened here with Avram and Sarah, there is no advantage. In other words, there is no joy here. There is no simcha. There is sadness. His wife, the other half of him died. So he is not happy. But with all what's happening, and do wheeling and dealing to get the right place for Sarah Imenu. That's a chesed shel emet. Not just bury her, he could bury her anywhere. Everybody offered him. Here, you are the great guy, Avraham Avinu. Here, put her here, put her there. No, I want this place because I knew this place I need for Sarah. Why? What was so special about this place? Because Hebron In Hebrew, Hebron is chibur, connection. And Me'arat HaMachpelah brings us back to the beginning of our shiur. Shnei chayei Sarah, Shnaim, two worlds, this world and the next world. And they say in Hebron, you have to understand, they didn't live in Hebron. They live in Beersheba. And Avraham Avinu, after that, went to Beersheba, and now he came back from Beersheba, and he went to Hebron to bury her in Hebron. Why in Hebron? Why did God turn the things that Sarah Imenu will be there, Dafka in Hebron? Because in Hebron is the chibur, is the connection between this world to the other world. It's the gate to go in from this world to the next world. And this is Me'arat HaMachpelah. This is Me'arat HaMachpelah. Me'arat HaMachpelah is double, the double cage. The two, what's the double? Double, this is the connection, the gate to Olam Haba. And this is not, there is no more suitable place for Sarah Imenu that in her life connected this world with the other world to be buried in Hebron, in Me'arat HaMachpelah, which is the gate to the next world. And there, of course, we know is Adam HaRishon and also buried. And then all our fathers and mothers are buried. This is the holiest place because this is the place where you connect yourself between the spiritual and the physical. And this is why Avraham understood how important it is. And he didn't do it with joy. He did it being, let's say, very sad because he now parted from his beloved wife, that their whole life were together, so many good things. And now he's alone, he's without her. But with all the sorrow and all the pain, he knows I have to do this job to the end. I cannot just bury her. And he's willing and dealing, and Or HaChaim HaKadosh said that he did it all according to all the halachos of the Goyim, our halachos, etc., etc., etc. And we can go on talking about it. But I think that the main lesson here is this world is only a passageway to the next world. We have a job to connect the spiritual world with the physical world. We are not animals and we're not angels. We are the combination of the spiritual with the physical. And our job is to connect those both together. And this is Sarah Imenu and Avraham Avinu, that they are buried in Hebron. This is the point of connection, which is through Me'arat HaMachpelah. Me'arat HaMachpelah, the double cage, which is connecting us from this world to the next world. This is the opening, the door to the next world. And this door we have to open already in this world. So I hope that each one of us will open this door and connect his physical part with the spiritual part, the same way as Sarah Imenu did. Maybe not the same exactly, but get close to Sarah Imenu and Avraham Avinu. All the best to all of you. Thank you very much.